Among the thousands of athletes who participated in the ancient Olympics, there were some who stood out due to the great achievements and extraordinary skills. In this video, we will delve into the stories of the 6 greatest athletes from antiquity. It should be noted that most of these stories were not contemporary and often intertwine historical facts with legends, so these accounts should be taken with a grain of salt. With that being said, let us explore the lives of this exceptional athlete. Number 1. Milon. Milon was born in Croton, one of the Greek cities of southern Italy. He trained to become a professional wrestler and participated in the Olympics at a young age, winning in the boys' wrestling event in the 60th Olympiad in 540 BC. According to Strabo, at a young age, Milon became a follower and friend of Pythagoras, one of the greatest philosophers of the ancient world. He participated in the Olympics again in 532 BC, this time as an adult. His achievements thereafter were truly remarkable. He won 5 consecutive Olympic wrestling titles, a feat that had never been achieved before and hasn't been since. In his attempt to win a 6th consecutive title, he was defeated by a wrestler named Timesitheus, a fellow citizen of Croton, who was much younger than him and managed to wear him out instead of confronting him directly. This is not surprising though, since at that time, Milon would have been well over 40 years old. He became famous all over the Mediterranean world for his superhuman strength, and many stories were told about his great feats. Cicero mentions that Milon could walk the stadium race in Olympia while carrying a live boar on his shoulders. According to Pausanias, Milon would tie a cord around his forehead, and when he held his breath, he would break the cord with the strength of the bulging veins on his forehead. Another story told by Strabo recounts a banquet held among the followers of Pythagoras, during which a pillar in the building's hall crumbled. Milon reportedly held up the ceiling to allow the others to escape before fleeing himself. One of his most epic moments occurred when he took part in the war raised by Croton against the city of Sybaris. He led the people of Croton while wearing a lion's skin and holding a club, resembling the great hero Heracles. Following that battle, the Crotonians destroyed the city of Sybaris. Milon would eventually meet a brutal death. At some point, while strolling through the forest, he came across a tree trunk held open by wedges. Wanting to test his strength, he attempted to split the trunk, but the wedges slipped, trapping his hands. Unable to escape, he was later devoured by the wolves that roamed the forest. Number 2. Leonidas. Leonidas was born on the island of Rhodes in 188 BC. He was undoubtedly the greatest athlete of the ancient Olympics. While Milon of Croton managed to win 5 consecutive times, he did so only in the wrestling event, whereas Leonidas of Rhodes managed to win 4 consecutive times in no less than 3 sports. These sports included the stadium race, a sprint run of 200 meters, the Diagoras race, a sprint run of 400 meters, and the hoplitodromus, a race of 400 meters, where athletes would run wearing armor and carrying bronze shields. Thus, he claimed victory at the Olympics an astounding 12 times in his lifetime. No one ever managed to surpass this achievement. Number 3. Melankomas. Melankomas was born during the 1st century AD in the region of Caria on the southwestern coast of Asia Minor, although the specific city is unknown. His father was a renowned boxer, and Melankomas followed in his footsteps, training vigorously day and night for years to become an excellent boxer. He developed a completely unique fighting style, focusing on stamina, avoiding or defending against his opponent's blows, and wearing the opponent out until he lost his composure from fatigue. Melankomas emerged victorious in the boxing events of the 207th Olympiad in 49 AD. His friends and fans praised him not only for his boxing skills, but also for his great beauty, honesty, and righteousness. However, he died relatively young in 70 AD. On his deathbed, he reportedly asked his friends how many days remained until his next boxing match, demonstrating his indomitable spirit and his love for athleticism. Number 4. Diagoras. Diagoras was born on the island of Rhodes into a wealthy aristocratic family. He trained as a boxer and eventually won the boxing event in the 79th Olympiad in 464 BC. Not only did he triumph at the Olympics, but he also excelled at all other major athletic events in Greece, such as the Nemean and Isthmian Games. He was revered as the greatest athlete of his time, with his fellow citizens even believing him to be the son of the god Hermes. Pindar of Thebes, one of the greatest lyric poets of the ancient world, composed a magnificent victory hymn in his honor that still survives to this day. Diagoras is known not only for his individual skills, but also for those of his descendants. His sons, as well as his grandsons through his daughters, eventually became Olympic winners in boxing and pankration, making his line the greatest family of athletes in the world. One of his daughters, Callipatra, disguised herself as a man in order to attend her son's Olympic match, as women were not allowed to watch the games. After her son won, she cheered so loudly that she was discovered. However, she was pardoned due to her family's esteemed reputation. Number 5. Polydamas. Polydamas was born in the city of Skoutsa in Thessaly. He trained to compete as a pankratist, and according to Pausanias, he was the tallest man of his time. He won the pankration event in the 93rd Olympiad in 408 BC and eventually became famous for the legendary feats attributed to him. Allegedly, he sought to emulate the achievements of Heracles and succeeded in wrestling and killing a lion without the use of weapons. Additionally, he reportedly stopped a moving chariot at great speed, using only his bare hands. It is said that the Persian king of kings, Darius II, heard of the exploits of Polydamas and invited him to his palace at Susa. According to the story, Polydamas agreed to fight against the 3 strongest men of Darius all by himself in a fight to the death, and he managed to kill all 3 of them. However, his display of strength would ultimately be his downfall. During one summer outing with friends at a cave, the ceiling began to crack, threatening to collapse. While his friends fled to safety, Polydamas chose to remain, intending to demonstrate his great strength by holding up the ceiling, believing it wouldn't fall if he supported it. Unfortunately, the ceiling did collapse, killing Polydamas. Number 6. Theagenes. Theagenes was born on the island of Thasos in the northeastern Aegean Sea. According to Pausanias, at the age of 9, as Theagenes was returning home from school, he became fascinated by a bronze statue of a god in the agora. He was so captivated that he uprooted the statue and carried it back home, displaying immense strength at such a young age. The council of citizens initially intended to execute him for this act of blasphemy, but they eventually showed leniency due to his age. Instead, they ordered Theagenes to return the statue to its place, which he did. He went on to train for the athletic events and became proficient in boxing and pankration. He first won the boxing event in the 75th Olympiad in 480 BC, and 4 years later he emerged victorious in the pankration contest. In addition to these triumphs, he secured 3 victories in boxing and pankration at the Pythian Games, 9 victories at the Nemean Games, and 10 victories at the Isthmian Games. At some point, however, he decided to give up boxing and pankration in order to train himself for long-distance running, aiming to match the legendary speed of Achilles. Theagenes may not have achieved 4 or 5 consecutive Olympic victories like other renowned athletes. However, throughout his lifetime, he was crowned a winner 1,400 times, participating in the Pan-Hellenic Games and numerous local events across the Greek world. After his death, the Thasians erected a great statue of Theagenes in the Agora. An athletic rival of Theagenes visited every night and flogged the statue out of spite. However, even in death, Theagenes seemed to be powerful, as eventually the statue, while being flogged, fell upon his enemy and killed him. The sons of the deceased man prosecuted the statue for murder, as was practiced in some cities of ancient Greece, where even inanimate objects could be tried and punished. the Thasians found the statue guilty of murder. They banished it from the city and threw it into the sea. But in the following years, the earth yielded no crops, prompting the Thasians to send envoys to the oracle of Delphi. The priestess instructed them to bring back those who had been exiled from the city, including Theagenes. Thasian fishermen eventually found the statue and returned it to its rightful place. From that time onward, they worshipped Theagenes as a god, offering sacrifices to him. Pausanias further mentions that later, statues of Theagenes were erected in many Greek and Thracian cities where people worshipped him as a healing god.